Thank you for inviting me here to speak to you a little bit about the Hispanic market. And I have to start off by saying that it's almost impossible to spend 6 minutes with you and really tell you everything that there is to know about our market. But I promise you that I'll give you a few statistics, a few facts, and then I'll try to give you a few pieces of advice as to how you can create a more inclusive environment of helping Hispanic-owned businesses in your own community. So I grew up in Latin America, and both of my parents were business owners. In fact, my mom, I think, had a total of about 5 businesses in the time that I grew up. My sister has a business. I owned a small business here in the US when I came to college. And for the last 15 years, I've been helping Hispanic entrepreneurs start businesses in Florida, and now we've expanded to North Carolina. And today there are 3 things that I want you to keep in mind while I go through my presentation. One is that Hispanics are not only a significant part of the population, but also a growing segment in the population. Number 2, Hispanic businesses are also a growing part of the community and are starting businesses at a much faster rate than non-Hispanics. And if we could increase revenues of Hispanic-owned businesses to match those of non-Hispanic-owned businesses, we could add $1.4 trillion to the US economy. So keep all of those things in mind as we go through the presentation today. So first, let's look at the 3 markets: the US, North Carolina, and Florida. About 50 million Hispanics living in the US, 4.5 million Hispanics, give or take, in Florida, and about 1 million in North Carolina. But what you need to focus on is when you reference someone as Hispanic or Latino or any other terms used to describe the community, you're really talking about 25 different countries and nationalities and backgrounds that you're just bunching into to one term or one name. And so I would welcome the fact that you understand that when you go back to your own communities, you need to really take a deep look at what is the makeup of your Hispanic market. That way you can develop programming and you can develop systems that will enable and empower your Hispanic community to grow and prosper. Then if we look at Hispanic-owned businesses, about 12% of businesses in the US are Hispanic-owned. In Florida, it's 29% actually. North Carolina, about 4%. That is a growing market, by the way. But if you look at Florida, Florida is a state that not only has obviously a sizable Hispanic market, but also for the last 20, 25 years or 30 years, have put together programming specifically to foster entrepreneurship for Hispanics. And so you tell me, I mean, they've done pretty well, right? Florida. And so this is something that you can see and take to your own communities. If you're willing to invest, if you're willing to put on the time and the resources to be able to help these folks start those companies and do it right, by the way, then you'll see a return on your investment and you'll be able to benefit from it. In North Carolina, by the way, even though it's only 4% of the businesses in North Carolina, it led the nation in growth within the Hispanic market. So it is leading the nation in growth of Hispanic-owned businesses. So if you look at the census data, you can see that not only Hispanic-owned businesses had a 43% increase between 2007 and 2012. Someone ventured to guess what happened in the economy between 2007 and 2012? Pretty rough time, right? So 43% increase in Hispanic-owned business versus a negative 3.6% of non-Hispanic-owned businesses. Startup rate in America in that period of time, but for the contributions of Hispanic-owned businesses would have been negative for the first time. And better yet, Hispanic women actually led the charge with an increase of 87% in growth. And it increased to 1.5 million, by the way. Yeah, absolutely, you can clap for that. In Florida alone, again, same story. Startup rate in Florida was flat during that period of time. Hispanics got an increase of 35%. But keep this in mind also. They do fail more as well, specifically because they make a lot of mistakes at the beginning. They're very well at their trades. They know what they want. They're good, bakers or machinists or barbers or whatnot, but they don't necessarily know how to do business in the US. They don't understand the financial sector. They don't understand how to access capital. They don't understand really the IRS code. But in reality, who of you understand that as well as they do, right? I mean, isn't it difficult to really figure out how to manage QuickBooks and how to pay sales tax in all 50 states, it seems now, right? So it is especially difficult when you don't speak the language or you don't have the same, or you don't understand the business culture. But why do Hispanics start more businesses? And by the way, Hispanics start businesses at a 3-to-1 ratio, Hispanic women on a 4-to-1 ratio versus non-Hispanics. 53% of Hispanics start businesses for financial reasons. 42% to help either family members or to leave a legacy for their children and their kids. So I would argue 95% of Hispanics start businesses because of an economic reason, right? They want to provide more for their families. Hispanic business owners have twice the opportunity to earn more than $50,000 a year than if you just go and get a job. So when you ask, why do they start more business? Well, they understand math. They know what dollars mean, and they understand that they have a better chance of making more money by starting their own business than by going and getting a job. But they also fail more. And so here's the $1.4 trillion that I was talking about. Only 2% of Latino firms across the US earn $1 million or more in revenue. The Aspen Institute did a study, and they said that some of the reasons for the low growth include low access to capital and markets, less utilization of external funding sources, and unawareness of opportunities and other resources that could help them grow. But you also have to keep in mind that Hispanic entrepreneurs don't make those mistakes because they don't know the US business culture or the financial systems. They don't seek expert advice that they trust. And they have different paradigms from depending where they came from. If they were running away from a hurricane like it happened in Puerto Rico last year, or if they're running away from a dictator in Venezuela like Maduro. So at Prospera, we help Hispanic entrepreneurs in culture, in their primary language, to adjust to the US business culture. And our end goal is to ensure that these Hispanic-owned businesses actually cater to the mainstream so that they can grow, increase their revenues, and create a more economic impact for the communities they live in. I encourage you to go back to your own community and start looking at what is the makeup of my Hispanic population. Are they foreign-born? What is their education level and socioeconomic background? What's motivating them to start that business? What tools and support groups can you create for them so that they can start those businesses and prosper? There is no cookie-cutter approach that I can give you a magic program that's going to work in your community. It takes time. It takes investment, but if you look at the numbers and the $1.4 trillion opportunity that we have, it's definitely worth all the resources and the time that it's going to take. Thank you for the opportunity to share with you a little bit about the Hispanic business market, and have a great rest of your day.